Okay, so a very warm welcome to you all. My name is Simon Rice, um, and I'm a BBKA master beekeeper. Um, and importantly, for these sessions, I have been an assessor for the basic assessment um, for nearly 10 years, I think. I've lost count. I also do assessments for the honeybee health assessment and also the general husbandry. Um, but I've done the most assessments I've done have been for the basic assessment. So before we start in earnest talking about the basic assessment, I need to get the slide to move on. Come on, play the game. Okay, so so there are some aims for the training sessions. Okay, um, and it's important one to recognise that these sessions will help prepare you to undertake the basic assessment, but you will need to supplement them with your own learning. Okay. Now, that might be using the slides that I present to you, the reading list, various videos, and we can talk about resources later on. But you won't be able to do it just from these sessions, or I'll be very surprised if you can. And the sessions are very informal. Okay, I want them to be very informal. There's also a WhatsApp group which I've set up, and I will give you a QR code to access that, so I can sort of take questions during the course of the week, and we can help each other during the course of the week if there are questions that you want to raise. And then importantly, when the beekeeping season starts in earnest, so probably in May time, we'll organise some practical sessions with a view to getting as many of you as we can to just come along and take part in an active session with some bees, which is normally great fun, and people learn a lot from. Okay, so that's the aim. This evening, as I mentioned, is a is an introduction. Oh, we've still got folks coming in. Let's just okay. So we'll talk through the basic assessment, what it's composed of, and briefly whiz through the sort of syllabus. But we'll also talk about how this might work and some important assessment dates for you, because the rules have changed this year about registration. There are some golden rules, okay? Number one is enjoy the training. Number two is, please could you put your speaker on mute when I'm presenting. Number three is definitely enjoy the training. Number four is, if you've got questions, Zoom has a chat facility which you can find on your bottom screen, and stick some questions in there, and then if we've time at the end of the evening, I'll whiz through them. Okay. If we don't get time to go through all of the questions, I will endeavour to put a slide together with some answers. So you may not get the answer this evening. I hope you will. But if you don't, then I'll put some answers on the slide set. Each week, I will send you the slide set. I will send you a link to the video. So really important that you enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, when we come to do the feedback later on, tell me why you didn't enjoy it and what I can do to change it, so make it a little bit more enjoyable. Okay. Okay. So hopefully you can all see this. So this is taken from the BBKA website. And it sort of shows the BBK examinations and assessments journey. Okay. Now, lots of people talk about exams, um, and we all dread exams from school days. Uh, and it might be a long time ago since you did an exam, but actually, the basic assessment isn't an exam. It is what it says. It's an assessment of your practical skills and your knowledge at a very simple level when you're starting your journey in beekeeping. Now, once upon a time, you had to possess the basic assessment in order to progress and undertake the modules. Okay, so there are 8 modules, and you can see a list of them on the right. Actually, there's only 7 because module 4 was withdrawn, although there is a voluntary module now, which has been available for the last 2 or 3 years on plants, on flowering plants. But there are 7 that, if you want to progress through being a qualified beekeeper and then onto a master beekeeper, you ultimately have to complete those 7 modules. You also need to collect your general husbandry certificate and your advanced husbandry certificates along the way. So that is the path, the traditional path to being a master beekeeper. There are also some supplementary certificates. So the honeybee health certificate was introduced back in 2018, and that's designed as an intermediary actually between the basic assessment and the general husbandry. Interestingly, very few people take it, which is very sad because it is a really interesting syllabus. And there is, in my humble view, a big step between the basic assessment and the general husbandry. So taking the honeybee health certificate or assessment, as it's called nowadays, as a midway one is a good idea. You could also undertake a microscopy certificate, and if you're successful with that, that exempts you from certain section from the advanced husbandry practical. There is also another assessment called honeybee breeding, which again very few folk take. And there's also a show judge to enable you to judge, as it says, judge honey shows. But over the next 4 weeks or potentially 5 weeks, we will focus on the basic assessment and we will break it down. And the aim is that I'll give you a lecture in some of the syllabus areas, and then we can chat around it. So we are going to start right at the beginning, but it's a really exciting journey, and I hope it will help you with your beekeeping. So the basic assessment is made up of 4 sections, and there is a practical assessment at a hive of bees. And then we go and sit down with a cup of tea and we talk through some questions. The whole assessment is marked out of 100, and each of the 4 sections. I wonder if you could just put your microphone on mute, please, if you haven't got it on mute already. So 4 sections. Each section carries 25 marks. You need to get 50%, so 50 marks to pass, but you need 50% in all of the sections is required. If you do particularly well and get 75% of the marks, you're awarded a merit. And if you do really, really well and get 90% of the marks, you're awarded a distinction. But actually, the important thing is about getting those 50 marks and getting a pass. So the structure, so when you register, and we'll talk about registration later on, but when you've registered, it might go quiet for a few weeks, but actually what we're doing is trying to find a suitable apiary and try and get together a number of candidates so that one assessor can manage 4 or 5 candidates in a day. And the idea is that we provide you with a colony of bees, okay, that aren't your own, but we know that they are queen right. They have a minimum of 8 sides of brood and some stores, and they have at least one super. So not like the colony in the slide, you wouldn't be faced with that, but they do have one super. So we're looking at sort of May, June time to do the assessments. Because the weather's better, but also it gives time for colonies to build up. Okay. And then you provide, so you arrive on the stated date and time, and you bring with you your clean bee suit. You bring with you all the equipment you might use to do an inspection of your bees. I ask that you don't wear leather gloves. There is a focus in all of the assessments on hygiene. Leather gloves, unfortunately, do get a propolis over a period of time. And because they are so thick, you really do lose your dexterity. So I would really encourage you to, if you do have leather gauntlets currently, to just try this season with a pair of marigold gloves, because when they get propolised up or dirty, you can throw them away and buy a new pair. And you can clean them quite substantially in washing soda solution. Or if, once you're a little bit more comfortable and practiced, moving to a pair of nitrile gloves as well gives you maximum dexterity when you're working at the hive. There are a few marks in the assessment for hygiene considerations. Okay, so you want to start on a good point with your assessor. You need to bring a smoker and some smoker fuel. Smokers do go out, particularly when you're feeling a little bit nervous about undertaking an assessment in front of an experienced beekeeper. We've all been there, okay? So try and relax, try and enjoy, because it will be a learning experience for you. But do practice starting your smoker. Try different fuels. Try making sure that it can keep it going for half an hour or more. Okay, so do practice lighting your smoker, having the right tools to light it. You need to bring your hive tool with you. And nowadays you need to also bring a bucket with washing soda. Okay, the National Bee Unit, or MBU, as I'll frequently call them, recommend between 5 and 10% washing soda solution for cleaning all the metal tools, cleaning your gloves, etc. Nowadays, it's important that you have that with you when you come for your assessment. You also need to bring with you the components of a frame, because you will be asked to make up a frame as the first thing that you do. And most of us, by the time you get to undertaking your assessment, will have made up dozens, if not hundreds, of frames. So it's a good way to relax yourself when you first start. You need to bring all of it. So you need to bring the frame, you need to bring foundation, hammer and nails. Okay. Don't do what I did when I did my basic assessment, and that is leave my frame at home on the kitchen table as I went out the door. Thankfully, one of the other beekeepers had brought more than one set of frames, and so I was able to make up a frame for him. But that was a bit of a foolish error to make. You also need to bring with you a box of suitable size to collect a sample of bees that will be also another aspect of the practical assessment that you'll be asked to do. Okay. Okay, so let's think about the practical a little bit more. Okay, so the syllabus sort of breaks it down into awareness and abilities. So you'll see, just having a look along the sections, if you look at 1.3, which I've put in bold, you need to be aware of the equipment needed to open a colony of bees and the importance of its cleanliness. As I said just now, hygiene is a key factor for this. And so the syllabus is full of little gems like that. But what it means, and sometimes I have to say, some of the wording could be simplified. But the equipment needed to open a colony of bees, as I've just described, is what you need to bring with you. It asks you to be aware of the reasons for opening a colony, the need for stores, the importance of record keeping. And then, we will ask you to open the colony of bees and keep them under control. So as part of that, demonstrate lighting and use of a smoker. Now, you can use a water spray. If you're used to using a water spray, you can. That's quite fine for you to do that. I have had a couple of candidates bring water spray with them to use, and it works very effectively. So what we'll do is we'll just come back to the screen because we're up to 30 people now, which is great. And I want to try and break this up so that I'm not constantly chatting at you, but that you also are able to take part. We've still got somebody coming in. Okay. Right. So at the bottom of your screen, you should see, if I can find them. Okay. So it says react right at the bottom, just two along from where you had your, and it opens up a little panel. Okay. Now, when we have these sessions and I open it up with a question, if we all talk at once, it gets very muddled. And also quite a few folks get a bit demoralized because they haven't had the opportunity to give an answer. Okay. So the best way to answer a question is to click on the raise hand. So if you do that, okay, you immediately see that a hand appears in the top left-hand corner. So Rachel's put her little hand up, okay, and you lower your hand by clicking the button again. All right. So we'll open up the question, and so the first question is, can you give us some reasons for opening up a colony of bees? Why would we want to open up a colony of bees? Be brave. Doesn't matter if you're wrong. Okay, Rachel.
Hello. So you want to check that your queen is still doing okay, that she's still there?
Right. So a queen, the colony is queen right. Excellent.
Yeah.
Lynn.
Yeah, to check that there's brood and stores.
Okay. So the queen is laying, that there is brood present, both uncapped and capped brood, and there are stores. Okay. Thank you. Why else might we open up a colony? And I've got Shauna. Oh, no, Shauna's disappeared. Dunks?
Yes, well, the other reason is to obviously check for pests and diseases to make sure the bees are in good health a grower
Excellent.
counsellor and bits and
Okay,
pieces.
so to do a disease inspection primarily, perhaps, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other reasons? Go on, Katie. Be brave.
At the beginning of the season, make sure they're still there.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And what sort of frequency are we going to look in our colonies?
I would say about once a week.
Yeah. Okay. So, and do we know why do we do it? Why do we say once a week or once every 7 days?
Swarm.
Anthony, you got your hand up. Do you know the answer to that one? Go on, Anthony. Can't hear you, mate. You're on.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. From week to week, you're looking for changes in the colony in terms of whether the brood pattern is changing or
Yes.
or increase in bee number, depending on where you are in the season.
Okay. Why specifically are we looking every 7 days, though? Ming, do you know the answer to that?
Yes, checking for queen cells. to
That's
see whether
right.
they
Checking
are
for queen cells. So we're looking
swarming.
for early signs of swarming. Okay. Excellent. Good stuff. Okay. So second question then. Importance of record keeping. So be honest with me. How many of you keep good records? Stunned silence. Okay. Why should we keep good records? What sort of things are we going to record? Go on, Doug. You're on mute, mate. Oh,
Yeah, no, that's it. You keep the records. Well, most of it is to see. I do keep it because of the weather conditions and bits and pieces, but also it's to do with how many frames of stores you've got, what the bees are like, if they're aggressive or thingy-bob. So, and
Yep.
and swarm cells if you notice any play cups and bits and pieces.
okay. So
And
early starts of
obviously,
swarming.
yeah,
Yeah.
pest management as well. Just the grower counts high, or if you've got any
Yes.
short brood or anything. So.
Okay, good. So looking for pests and diseases. Rachel, got some other ideas there?
You're looking for any sort of patterns that might indicate something's happening. And for me, it's just remembering what I did last time. So I know what I'm doing this time.
No,
like
that's
what
a
I
really
need
good
to bring
reason.
for the next week.
Particularly if you've got more than one colony.
Right,
Just trying to remember what you're going to do with that colony.
The hand comes up if you want to talk.
Okay. Where have we got? Camilla, any other ideas what records we keep? You're on mute, I think, Camilla.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So just following on from what the person said just now, in my record, I tend to put a to-do list for my next time. Just that helps prompt me to know what to do if sort of focus missed. So it's similar to what has just been said, but
Okay.
yeah.
Any other reasons what records not reasons, what other records might we keep? I'll give you a clue. There are some records that we have to keep. Okay. Katie?
When you've treated for Varroa, for instance.
That's right. So there are some important records that we have to keep in terms of the type of Varroacide we've used, its batch date, the date we applied it, how long we applied it for, its use by date, those sorts of things. Okay, good, excellent. Right, so let's go back to the slides. Okay, so hopefully you can all see the slide again, yeah? Yep, I think so. Okay. All right. So, and I will send you these so you'll have a chance to read through them. And this actually is just this is the syllabus, just placed onto a slide. So then the syllabus talks about abilities. So being able to identify the female casts in the colony, being able to identify brood at all stages, being able to show the assessor the difference between drone, worker, and honey cappings, for example. Being able to take a sample of workers in that container that we talked about right at the beginning, knowing how many worker bees are required for an adult disease diagnosis, and quite importantly, demonstrating how to shake bees from a comb and how to look for signs of disease. And I've put underneath, often done badly, because this section of looking for brood diseases is often done badly. And I think that's because it's not being taught particularly well at an association level. So one of the things that we will do when we do our practical days is we will show you how to shake bees from a comb and how to look for signs of brood disease. Okay. So let's just go back to Q&A again. So how might we identify the female caste? Who can tell me the different female castes in a colony? Is the term caste something you've not come across before? Okay. Oh, Rachel, go for it.
You mean the difference between the worker bee, which is female, and then the queen bee?
That's right. So the two, so both worker and queen are female. Queen is a fertile female. A worker is an unfertile female. Okay. They can both lay eggs. So workers do lay eggs. They can only lay a very small quantity of eggs because the number of egg tubes they have in their abdomen is very small. Whereas the queen's role in life is to lay all of the fertile eggs. But the queen can also lay an unfertilized egg. And all the workers' eggs are always unfertile, and they give rise to the drones. Okay, so that's the difference. So a fertilized egg becomes either a new queen or a worker, more often a worker, and an unfertilized egg becomes a drone. Okay, good. How would we, if we were looking at our frames, how would we notice, or what would we notice in terms of a difference between drone and worker cappings and honey cappings? Go on, Dunks, tell us.
The brood cappings always got a domed cap to them, compared to the worker cappings, and usually the honey cappings are the waxes. Obviously, it's a fresh wax, so it's usually a lot whiter. Whereas the brood cappings are usually a lot darker, where the bees have walked over it for a lot longer.
Yep, thank you. I can't tell your name because you've got AJH79, so I do apologise. But you had your hand up, and I just wonder if you can tell us a little bit more about the size of the cappings for drone and worker.
The drones tend to be bigger and more, as the guy said, they're domed and they're sort of bumpy and lumpy looking. So
okay, lovely. And sorry, what is your name?
Alison.
Alison, lovely. Okay, thank you, Alison. Okay, and if I asked you to go to a hive and take a sample of bees for adult bee disease diagnosis, how many bees would you collect? Let's go to Anthony.
Make a guess, 50.
Sorry, Anthony, speak up.
Oh, sorry. I'll make a guess, 50.
Okay. So there's a statistical sample. Mark.
300.
Okay. So we're looking for adult bee disease. Nick, have a go. Then I'll come to you, Dunks, because I think you probably know. But
I think it's
Nick?
I think it's a minimum of 30.
That's right. And 30 is a biological sample number. Okay. And does anybody know where we collect that sample of bees from? So are we going to collect it from the brood nest? Are we going to collect it from the outer frames? Are we going to collect it from the front door? Go on, Dunks, tell us.
It'd be from the brood frames.
Yeah, but it could also be from the front door. Okay. And why is that? Do you know why we're collecting them there? Nick?
I'd say because that's where the foragers typically will be found at the
That's right.
entrance to the hive.
So we want the older bees. So if we're going to take it from the brood nest, we'll take it from the frame closest to the entrance. So that obviously only works if you are orientating your brew box what we call the warm way. So where the frames are parallel to the front edge of the hive. And that's where generally a lot of the drones congregate, but also the workers generally as stores or pollen. And you get a lot of the older bees there passing on their nectar to the younger nest bees. So that's where we would collect them from. Okay, good stuff. Right. Let's go back to the slides. Okay. Okay. Then we will ask you to name and explain the function of the parts of a beehive. Okay. And we do that as we're walking up to the hive. You may get asked about bee space. So just a little bit about sometimes I'll say you will and sometimes you may. The assessors have 8 guiding sheets to select from. And some of the questions are common to all 8 of those. Some of them aren't. So that's particularly important when we come to the other sections around the natural history and the pests and diseases, where you get more variety. You will always, for example, be asked to talk about swarming and a swarm control technique. But you may not be asked both about chalk brood and sac brood, for example. Okay. You will have already made up your brew frame. Actually, it doesn't have to just be a brew frame. It can be a super frame. It can be either. It's your choice. So all those sections you will go through. Excuse me. Then we come to the natural history. Okay. And these will be in the oral questions at the end, primarily. A common one that people are asked is about the period spent by the queen, the worker, and the drone in their 4 stages of their life. Okay, knowing the length of time for each of the female casts and the drone. And again, we'll go through that, and I'll provide you with some tables to help you learn that. We also asked to give a simple, so this isn't an essay question. This is literally a simple description of the collection and use of pollen, water, and propolis in the colony. To be able to give a simple definition of nectar and a simple description of how it's collected. And to be able to name the main local flora. Surprising the number of people that aren't able to name local flora that they find in their area. So let's just come back. So we'll give it a go. So who can name some local flora that their bees forage on through the course of the year? Go on, Dunks, give us one.
It does depend on what time of the year, but say the start early, it's you get a lot of the tree pollen and the tree nectar.
So you need to name them specifically. Okay.
Okay. No, well, hawthorn's one of them.
Yes, good.
My bees will forage on, and obviously blackberry is another one they'll forage on.
Okay, and what time of year do you find blackberry in forage?
Blackberries, it's getting earlier and earlier, but goes right through. It's usually sort of towards the end of the summer, sort of a June, July time.
That's right. Okay, Camilla, can you give us another one?
Yeah, so I'm thinking ivy very late on in the season, so
Good.
that can be sort of September, October time.
Yep.
So just to ask, presumably when you name a particular foraging thing, you need to know what time of year it appears.
Yes, and if you don't, if you just say hawthorn, blackthorn, borage, as an assessor, I would say to you, what time of year would you expect that to come?
Understood.
So the assessment is what we call an enabling assessment. Okay, and the assessors on their sheets will have a guide as to the number of points that they can award for a particular section. So if a section has 1 point, they're looking for one answer. Okay. If a section has 5 points allocated to it, they're probably looking for 4 or 5 different things. So it's potentially the flora. If I would say to you, can you name some flora that you would find in your area? If you just said hawthorn, I'd say, okay, what time of year would you find that? And then I might say, what else might you find? What else might your bees? So the assessors are really there to help you. Okay, and we will help you and prompt you as much as we can without actually giving you the answer. So let's go for some more flora. So Shana, you've had your hand up a little while. Sorry, can you give us some more?
I can. Oilseed rape is around at the end of March and April.
Excellent.
And we also had heather at the end of the season, so like September, October.
Very good. Do you take your bees to the heather?
No, they take themselves. They're very independent.
Oh, you have heather close to you?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Very good. Alison, got another one?
Snowdrops early on, back now.
Ah, very good. Yes, and crocus and the early spring.
Yeah.
I've got crocus up in my garden already. So the bumblebees will be out later this month, I'm sure. Okay, that's a good one. Right, so where should we go next? Who can give us a simple description of the collection of pollen, please? How about some folks that haven't spoken yet? Any ideas? Get us going. Okay. Go on, Alison. Well done. Volunteered.
Well, they land on the plant, obviously, and the pollen sticks to the hairs on their underneath, and they scrape it into the pockets in their rear legs.
Okay.
And carry on.
That's good. So that would get you a couple of marks. Anybody like to sort of elaborate on that a little bit? So we've got pollen sticking to the hairs on the bee's body as they go from flower to flower. How do they move that pollen to those pockets? And where are the pockets? Go on, Ducks, tell us, where are the pockets?
Pockets on the hind legs, they're just like little baskets and they'll move it with the other legs, and then obviously
That's right.
once they're fully laden with the pollen, they'll then go back to the hive, and they can obviously then transfer it to other bees who will then take it into and store it into the comb.
Okay. And what do other bees do with the pollen? Do they store it as it is? Nick?
They make bee bread from
That's
it.
right. What is bee bread? Do you know?
It's what is it? It's a mixture of pollen and nectar.
That's right. Yep.
And I guess enzymes as well.
Yep.
And it what is it? Ferments.
And what's it used for?
That's a great question.
Why do bees make bee bread?
It's fed to. Is it not? It's not. It's fed to the workers.
So, anybody else got any ideas? What, Mark? Oh, you're cutting out, sir. Try again.
Feeding larvae.
Yes. So the workers use it to create brood food. Okay. Which is then fed to the larvae. So pollen is really key protein source for bees, particularly in the feeding of the larvae. Great. Okay, who can give us a simple description of collection of water? Anybody feeling brave? Come on. Rachel.
I know they have to have something quite shallow to land on. So
Yep.
you need to put like pebbles in a small bowl of water.
Yep.
But what they do with it after that, I don't know. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Joyce? You're on mute, Joyce. You're still on mute, Joyce.
There we go. I've heard that the best place for bees to collect water is if you put a collection of large stones with a water source
Yep.
sort of trickling in.
That's right. What other natural sources might they use? Lynn? You're on mute as well, Lynn.
Hi. Well, I can only speak for my bees really. They use the local river and they use the reeds and the plants in the river to.
Yep. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do they collect the water?
They seem to store it inside and then they regurgitate it.
That's right. So they actually use their honey stomach just like they would if they're collecting nectar. Yeah. And they suck it up with the proboscis, which is a little pump, and store it. And they take it back to the hive and regurgitate it. What do they use water for in the hive? Two or three reasons. Go on, Dunks. Tell us.
Well, the one reason they use it is to if you've got some honey stored and it's obviously quite it's set, they use it to break it back down again.
Good.
Another reason they use it is for obviously air conditioning, because if the hive's hot, they use the water and it makes like an air conditioning and keeps the hive cool.
Yeah.
And obviously just drinking water as well sometimes. So.
Okay. And there's one other reason. Lynn? You're on mute again, Lynn.
Sorry. To feed to give it to the brood and the
so
other
they
bees.
use it. That's nearly right. They use it to make up the brood food. So brood food is quite a high water content. Okay, good stuff. Some good answers. Thank you. Okay, last question on this section then. We want to set up an apiary. What sort of things do we look for when setting up an apiary? One each. Go on, Katie.
Shelter from the wind.
Good. Yep. and the frost. Joyce? You're on mute, Joyce.
Right, try again. Plenty of sort of like foliage and plants, and also a water source again, if
Yeah, that's
if
right.
possible.
Forage. Yeah, absolutely. I think in Hertfordshire we probably take it for granted that they're going to have forage, but if you were in the middle of a city, you might be worrying a little bit about forage, and certainly having a water source. Yeah, Shauna.
Would you look for pests? Like if there are a lot of local pests around, you don't really want your beehive there.
What
But then
sort of pests are you thinking about?
Foxes, squirrels, mice, rats, and those kind of things.
Yeah, generally, I mean, mice can be a problem in winter. Badgers occasionally, but generally, sheep are more of a problem. Farmer putting sheep in a field where you've got your beehives, you want them surrounded by some strong fencing because sheep like to scratch and they'll use your beehive to scratch. And you certainly don't want what I had once, where I had some hives in a farmer's paddock, and he decided to put his flock of geese in the paddock. Unfortunately, the geese weren't very keen on me going in the paddock and chased me a number of times. Yeah. Okay. Katie.
I mean, I've got one more.
Oh, go on in. Sorry.
Competition. If there's other bees around.
Yeah. So that's a good. Yep. Absolutely. So, and also, of course, remembering that bees can be competition for wild pollinators as well. Where do we go? Okay, Lynn.
Where it is in relation to like footpaths or neighbours or whatever,
very good.
and where the sun comes up and goes down.
Yeah. So generally, we try to put them sort of facing south or southeast, so they get early morning sun. Yeah. So their flight path doesn't cross over footpaths, children's play areas. If a child gets stung, it'll guarantee it'll be your bees that'll get the blame, even if it may not be your bees that have stung. Similarly with neighbours, I've been keeping bees for the best part of 50 years, and the number of neighbouring or neighbour disputes over bees that I've helped negotiate has been quite significant. And it seems to be increasingly so, actually. And I think that's just the number of beekeepers is increasing. Okay, so we've had access, we've had crossing paths, flight paths, we've had forage, we've had water, facing the sun, protection from animals like sheep. Any others you can think of? Camilla?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say about the access. I mean, it's obviously the public rights of way and things, but also your own access as a beekeeper. Is it actually feasible to lift a couple of supers off and can you park a car nearby? And
very good, really important, really important. Yeah. Okay, good. And I'm sure there are others, but those are some of the key ones. Well done, everybody. That's great. Okay. Let's move on. Okay. So, as also part of the natural history about the potential effects of honeybee stings on humans, and able to recommend suitable first aid treatment, the sort of jobs that you have to do during an annual cycle of work, robbing and how robbing can be avoided, timing of adding additional supers, being able to prepare sugar syrup, how and when to feed. So let's pick up some of those. So who can tell me potential effects of of a bee sting on a human? Let's start with mild effects first. Lynn?
Yeah, swelling.
Yep.
On where it stung.
Yeah, the site of the sting.
Itchiness.
Yeah, good one. Yep.
Yeah. Redness.
Shauna, any others? No. Rachel?
So the most severe cases was shock, allergic shock. So
yeah, let's just talk about
mild ones.
Usual effect rather than hypersensitivity first. Yeah, we'll come to that. Go on, Lynn, give us some more. You're on mute, Lynn.
Yeah, so redness, swelling, itching, sore, aching around the sting site.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the usual signs and symptoms. What do we do? What do we do, or what do we suggest to people when they are stung? How do we usually tell if somebody's been stung by a bee rather than, say, a wasp? Camilla?
Yeah, you can usually see the sting. So the first thing is to try and remove the sting just as quickly as you can.
And how do we do that?
The way I do it is just pinch it out carefully so that it doesn't leave any part of the sting behind. So you take it out whole.
Okay. So the recommended way of doing it is actually to scrape it. Okay, sort of using a credit card or something like that, rather than pinch it, because a bee sting has its own little nervous system, and even though it's separated from the bee, it will continue to pump venom into the injection site. So if you pinch it, you're going to squeeze more venom, because the venom sac is one of the bits that's left behind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the approved first aid technique is to scrape, okay, rather than pinch. Okay, so that's usually the effects of a bee sting. What might we see in a hypersensitive individual? Shauna, you had some ideas?
Can I just quickly go back to what happens when you're stung? Because apart from swiping it off, we've also been taught that you should like smoke the area because it attracts other bees if they know
very good.
Stung you.
That's really important.
Hypersensitivity, like big swelling, like as if you were punched in the eye by something, it can get massive if it's like in the eye or on the lips or anywhere else.
Yeah.
And it can also cause anaphylactic shock.
It can.
Some people need to.
And what sort of signs and symptoms would you get for anaphylactic shock?
Feeling that you can't breathe. Sometimes people get a swollen tongue.
Yep.
And
any others? Lynn?
Eyes swelling so much that they'd close, and your throat and lips, tongue swelling.
Yes, indeed. So if you see signs other than the site of the sting, so often people will experience symptoms elsewhere on their body, but also people feeling faint. It is a shock, so the blood is draining from the brain. They might struggle to breathe, and so what's a really important thing that we do if you start to see symptoms like that? Dunks?
The first thing you do is to try just to get some help. Let somebody, if you're on your own, obviously get in touch with somebody and let them know you obviously what 3 words is a great one for Herts.
But who are we telling?
Well, we should always tell somebody you're going to the APRI in the first place anyway.
No, sorry. Who are we telling in terms of getting some help?
Just 999.
Right. Okay. Any other first aid that we should apply to somebody that's struggling with anaphylaxis?
I think the most important thing is move them away from the hives.
Yes.
Keep them away.
sit them down or even lie them down and raise their feet.
That's right. And lying them down, raising their legs, so the blood does go back to the brain is absolutely key. Asking them whether they have an auto-injector EpiPen, because they may know that they're hypersensitive. And one of the things that we will do when we go into an apiary as a group is we will always ask if anybody is hypersensitive, and we do that sort of, you tell us discreetly, but so then the person leading that inspection is aware. So then if you do get stung, we are able to support you. And you should be doing that routinely if you go to your apiary inspections as a group. And as you've rightly said, moving away from moving away from the colonies, because you may get other stings from the defense pheromone. Good, excellent. So let's pick another one. No, let's carry on because we will run out of time. Okay. And we will go over in more detail these areas anyway. Okay, so swarms and swarm control is a big section. And one of the key ones here is being able to give an elementary account of a method of swarm control. Okay, so this is something that you need to learn, and ideally practice with your bees. Usually, associations teach a method like the Pagden artificial swarm. The method I traditionally use is what's called the nucleus method, where you remove the queen, but you can also use something like a demarree. There are also methods that you can use where you don't have to find the queen. And when we come to talk about swarming in a couple of weeks' time, I'll talk you through each of those methods in turn. But you need to decide which method you're going to learn and be able to give an account to the assessor on how you would do it. Okay. Similarly, you'll also need to be able to describe in a simple way how to take a swarm and how to put it into a hive, how to test the sign and describe the signs of a queenless colony, okay, and how to test that. Laying workers, drone laying queen, the differences. So these are all things that we will go over. Introducing a queen or uniting colonies. Pests and diseases, again, another big section. And in order to be able to distinguish unhealthy brood, which is what, of course, we're looking for, you need to be able to describe what healthy brood looks like. So again, when we're going through the frames in the colony, I would ask you, show me healthy brood. How do you know it's healthy? And then I'll ask you to describe signs of when things aren't healthy. Okay, so then we're talking about the foul brood diseases, but also some more simple and less dramatic diseases like chalk brood, like sac brood. We'll also talk about Varroa, okay, and how we detect it, acarine and nosema, which actually aren't that common nowadays, particularly acarine. But also, are you aware of who to contact to just check if you're worried about your colonies, and also in terms of legislation regarding notifiable diseases and pests, okay, and reportable. So Varroa is reportable. Does anybody know? Go on, we'll see if we know the names. So can anybody give me names of 2 notifiable pests? So notifiable means you need to tell the authorities. Okay, so the bee inspectors. So Shauna, can you tell us one?
Foul broods. So I think there's American and there's European.
Okay, so foul broods are diseases, okay, but you're quite right. But in terms of pests, can anybody give us? Can you give us one? Go on, have a go then.
I don't know the full name, but it's the moths.
Say again.
They're moths.
They're moths. Oh, the wax moth.
That's it.
They're not notifiable.
Oh,
they're very common. They're a nuisance, particularly with stored comb, but they're not notifiable. Dunks, tell us one. You're on mute, Dunks.
Tropilelaps.
Tropilelaps. Very good. Now found in Georgia, so it's in Europe or the Europe continent. Ming, can you tell us the other one?
Yellow-legged Asian hornet.
So the yellow-legged hornet isn't notifiable anymore, and that's because it is anticipated that it will become resident in the UK. Okay, so it isn't notifiable from a statutory point of view, but obviously we're very keen that people do report it if they think they've spotted one. Before I go to Dunks, can anybody else tell me the other notifiable pest? Richard, good evening. Come on, Richard Ashford, tell us the answer.
I am on mute. Small hive beetle.
Thank you. Yes. So the small hive beetle, which has been found in Italy, and I believe has come back. So, yep, small hive beetle. Okay, right, where are we going? Let's carry on. Okay, so Shauna, we'll talk about wax moths and we'll talk about other pests such as mice and preventing them from entering your colonies. Okay, so why take the basic assessment? This is my thoughts. So I think it will help you learn, and hopefully you've learnt some things already this evening. I think it also demonstrates you know the key important basics of beekeeping, and that can be particularly helpful if, for example, you want to keep bees on council land, on an allotment, because a lot of councils will ask for a certificate of proficiency, and the basic assessment is fine for that, or usually fine for that. You get a certificate you can hang up on your wall. So, you know, and you get a little badge you can sew onto your bee suit. But I think most importantly, it'll give you more confidence in handling your bees, because the more you know, the quicker you'll be able to do things, and the more confident you will become. So, I mentioned right at the beginning, we have this relatively short video, 2 beekeepers from Bishop Stortford. So the gentleman in the white bee suit is Steve, and the one in the beige bee suit is Jim. And Steve took his basic assessment last summer, and Jim has just got some questions he's going to ask him. 2 old blokes talking about beekeeping, but it's quite interesting. And don't worry, they don't mind me calling them 2 old blokes, because I did last night and they laughed. Okay, so hopefully everybody will be able to hear this. The sound is a little bit, it could be better, shall we say.
I've done it in a suit before, so. Well, Steve, thank you for inviting me along today to talk about your recent assessment that you did. So it's been a while since I've been here. I'd like to congratulate you on what you've done here. It's nice and clear. Clearly the bees love it here, and it's nice and open, and it's it's good. So it's 2 years now.
Yes, this is my second year.
It is 2 years. Great.
Yeah.
So, basic assessment. So you've recently taken it, and I believe you passed.
I did indeed, yes. So that was in August. So I think it was in July at the time. It was suggested that I considered taking the basic assessment.
Yeah.
And it seemed a good time to do it, really, because I'd just completed the full calendar year of beekeeping.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that I really understood what I was doing at a basic level, and so I thought I'd give it a go.
Right. Okay, that's good. So, did it meet your expectations? What did you find?
I'm just going to pause it because the volume is very low, and I'm just going to see if I can turn up the volume. So, excuse me a second. Stop share. Just turn up the volume on here. All right, let's try again. Were you able to hear anything?
The volume was fine my end.
Yeah,
same here.
It was fine for me.
So it was just my screen.
I could hear it, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, that was just my screen. I couldn't hear it very well then. Right, okay, that's good. Thank you for that.
Sort of like, why did you actually do it? You know, what made you think I'm going to do this?
I think it's an achievement thing. I think when I took up beekeeping, I mean, I make the joke that I'm probably the oldest beginner at Bishop Stortford maybe has ever had.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think that I was really interested in taking things like exams and so forth. But I kind of realised that there's so much to know in beekeeping that actually I'm quite enjoying the challenge of doing it, and actually doing certification is kind of like, it's just validation that you know what you're.
You feel that you're learning.
You're learning. It's an achievement.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think it's the first step on the.
So would you say it sort of reinforces your learning?
Absolutely.
Or where there's any gaps?
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, absolutely, and it's just to make sure that. And actually, that's the key, really, because I was a little bit hesitant about doing it because I thought, well, I don't really know enough about bee diseases yet.
Yeah.
But I knew some of the basics, but couldn't remember all of the detail.
Yeah.
And
I think for beginners, the diseases is the hardest thing to learn. I think that's why when we're being taught it in our first year, it's right at the end of the first year that I got taught about the diseases, and it's something you have to keep going over as well. So I understand that completely.
Exactly.
So anyway, so a lot of new beekeepers, they feel nervous about it, and I think I would too, because obviously our age, oh dear, we've got to start learning again, and exams and so on and so forth. So was it like an exam? What was it like?
No, it's not like an exam at all.
Right.
It's more like a kind of a friendly chat. So it's really relaxed. So you meet an experienced assessor at someone else's apiary. It's not your own apiary, but obviously they're choosing a location, where it's a friendly kind of bee colony. They're not going to choose something that's going to be a kind of a real challenge. They're not trying to catch you out in that kind of way. So there's probably about 4 parts to the assessment.
Yeah.
First part is light the smoker.
Oh, we struggle. We all struggle with that, don't we?
Actually, and that was one of my revision points, was make sure that my smoker doesn't go out during the assessment.
Yeah. And did it?
It didn't. No. And actually, and one of the reasons is that because that was a problem. Sometimes my smoker would go for ages, and sometimes it would go out, after like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But I'm now using I experimented with using burlap, like sacking, and that is now my main fuel. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So the smoker didn't go out. The second part is make up a frame, a foundation. The assessor isn't looking at you. They kind of walk away, so they're not looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
So you can get on with that confidently.
So you don't hit your thumb under pressure.
No. And I've got a ramping tool now, actually. So I do use a hammer on a few of the nails, but actually I use this ramping tool which I find is so efficient. You know,
What, you put the pin in and then push it?
Absolutely, and it's brilliant because you don't bend the pin with the hammer.
Yeah,
So-
or black you now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that's the second part.
Yeah.
Third part is which is kind of one of the two main parts really, opening up the hive.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a mini inspection. So you're pulling out the frames. You're commenting on what you're observing. You know, can you see sealed brood?
Yeah.
You know, sealed honey, etc. The assessor is asking you some certain questions along the way. That is the kind of second. That's the third part. And then the final and fourth part is it's really a chat. It's really a Q&A session.
Yeah.
So you go away from the hive, sit down, maybe have a cup of tea. Maybe if the friendly host has supplied some
Bit of cake, lovely.
You know, it's a kind of a friendly chat.
Yeah.
The assessor has a long list of questions, but they ask a subset of those on the day.
Yeah.
And it's all around the basic assessment syllabus. You know, which
So
we can talk about here.
Yeah. So fill us in about the assessment syllabus.
So from a revision point of view, I just looked at the syllabus.
Yeah.
I kind of realised it's only a few pages. I realised actually that I knew more than I thought, because when I went through this, I thought, well, I don't really need to go do any revision on this bit.
Yeah.
Because I kind of know that already. I just made a few notes on here, just to make sure that different parts of the life cycle, eggs, larvae, sealed, pupa stage. I knew I could remember exactly how many days duration for each, and hence the total for each. So if that question come up, I could answer it sort of straight away. And the other area mainly bee diseases, as we sort of talked about. Just making sure that I could really remember, which diseases were bacterial, fungal, or viral.
Yeah.
And that was it really. So yeah, revision was pretty straightforward.
So where would we get these? If anyone was interested, where would this information come from? Where would you get this?
It's all on the British Beekeepers Association website.
Yeah.
All the documentation is there.
And who would the best person within the club be to speak to?
So Rob Croft is the kind of link with the Beekeepers Association. So it's Rob that sort of encouraged me to sort of do this and sort of allayed my fears really.
Right, sounds really, really good. So what do you think? You feel more confident as a beekeeper?
Definitely more confident. And curiosity as well.
Yeah.
Because having done this part, I'm now thinking, well, actually, even if I don't take the exams, I'm thinking about studying for some of the modules. And when I look at the module list, I never even thought about this before. But I'm thinking, microscope work would be really interesting.
Yes.
Because one of my questions was, to myself was, what are my bees, foraging on?
Yeah.
Because I can, tell the difference in the taste between the spring and the summer honey. I'd love to know what they're foraging on.
I think the colours are amazing, aren't they? All the different pollens you get in.
All the
It's
different
amazing.
pollens, and actually analysing those, and actually under the microscope is going to be kind of fascinating. So that's definitely an area that I want to explore.
Okay. So if someone was thinking, shall I go for it, Steve? What would your answer be?
Just go for it. As I said, I'm not sure I've said it before, but I make the joke about being the oldest beekeeper in Bishop Stortford.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd do exams, but this isn't like an exam. It's really great. It sort of improves your confidence. Really validates what you know.
Well, Steve. Well, anyone out there, if you're thinking about it, obviously you can always speak to Steve or who's
Rob Croft.
Rob Croft. So give them a shout, or you can go on to the British Beekeepers Association's website and download the basic assessment. Thank you for inviting me here today, Steve. It's been very appreciative.
Well, very good to see you.
And the bees are flying. It is a bit chilly here today, but thank you very much, and thank you all for watching. I've done it in a suit before.
Okay, so just to finish off, so Rob, that was mentioned in the video there, is Herts examination secretary. His email address is there. This year, BBKA have set an application deadline for the 30th of April. Okay, and the last assessment is held towards the end of August. Now, that means if you want to take the assessment, you need to contact Rob. He will email you a link to the application form. You use that to apply and pay online. This year, I think it's 35 quid. You'll get a receipt to confirm you have your application. Then there might be a few weeks when nothing appears to be happening. But actually what Rob is doing is collating names of people that are wanting to take the assessment, trying to work out dates when assessors are available, and sort of also gain access to an apiary where we can undertake those assessments. So lots will be going on. And just sort of to remember, please, that most people involved with the BBKA are volunteers. So sometimes things don't happen perhaps quite as quickly as you would do if you were expecting a commercial sort of contract. But people, it will get done, and your assessments will be set. One of the things that Jim and Steve mentioned was age. So just to let you know that the oldest person I've assessed for was 85. And last summer, the youngest person who did the basic assessment was 13. Okay, and they both passed. So it doesn't matter what age you are, and as I said earlier, how long you've been beekeeping for. I will send you the slide set. There is a QR code to join the WhatsApp group if you would like to do that, and ask questions during the course of the week if you come up unstuck with some of your revision, what have you. Now, just to give you the dates for this online training. So we've got this evening, we've got next Tuesday. Unfortunately, I can't do Tuesday the 17th. So there will be no meeting that week, but then we will carry on the following week and then into March. Okay. The training will commence 7:30 promptly. A few of you, I'm sure for very valid reasons, came in late this evening. But if you could be ready to start by 7:30, so maybe join the online session by about 7:20, something like that. That will help so that we don't get folks coming in part way and also people potentially missing it. The Zoom link you use this evening will be the same for all the meetings. Okay. But again, I will put that on the slide, send it out in an email to you all. So I've probably done enough talking, but I'm really grateful for you all contributing to the questions this evening. I hope you've all learnt something, but we've got a few minutes if there are any specific questions around undertaking the assessment or how to apply or anything else like that. We can go into detail on the syllabus in forthcoming weeks. Rachel.
Hi, are there any good books or any resources that we could look at?
Yes, so I will send you, there is on the, so when you go looking for the syllabus on BBKA website, okay, and I've sent you a copy of that already, haven't I? But if you go into the members area on the BBKA website, under the exams and assessments section, each of the assessments or exams, module exams, has a recommended reading list. They are usually vast. So, we can't all go off and spend hundreds of pounds on books and what have you. So there are some key ones that I would recommend. So the BBKA, the newest BBKA handbook on beekeeping is actually very good. Thank you. And it's edition 2, volume edition 2. So make sure you get the updated one because it has been revised. I will do Dee, I will put the WhatsApp, I will send it to you in the slide set. Okay. What other books would I recommend? Honeybee Health. No, not Honeybee Health. Hang on, let me just get it from my bookshelf. So there's a lady by the name of Celia Davis, who, if you read this month's BBKA magazine, has been made an honorary member of the association. She's a brilliant author, very good speaker as well. I don't know whether she still does speak. She has 2 books. One is called The Honeybee Around and About, okay? And the other one is called The Honeybee Inside and Out. There is a second edition. They are quite old now, sort of 2014, so 12 years old, but very readable. Mine are very well thumbed through, way more than you need for the basic assessment, but you will learn absolutely loads. As I say, really good author, really writes really well, and it's got a great sense of humor which comes through in her writing. I've got some others which I will pass on to you in the slide list. Okay, but good question. Thank you for that. Okay. If there aren't any other questions, what I have got on the final slide is just some feedback for me. So if you could, there should be a poll. Come on. Aha, I need to load it. Right, so stop sharing. So I'm going to load a poll. If I can find it. Right. Oh, stop. Okay, launch. So you'll see the poll come up. There's only 3 questions, but just give me some feedback on this evening, and that would be great. Okay, everybody who wanted to answer has answered. Marvellous. Okay.
Simon, I just had a question. Just a quick
please
question.
Do. Yeah,
go. I'm an absolute novice. I only started learning about bees with Diane Bruce last year. I haven't got any bees, but it's probably going to change over the next year. But is it worthwhile I've learned, made so many notes and, really learned a lot already this evening. Is it worthwhile continuing for me, who's an absolute novice and probably won't take the assessment at the end of the course?
No, I think it very much is.
Right.
You will learn lots of theory, which when you do get your bees, hopefully you'll be able to put in to practice.
Okay.
So that's a really good point, actually. So this is not only for folks that definitely want to take their basic assessment this summer, it's a learning exercise for anybody that is thinking about it. Maybe next summer.
Yeah.
And like Steve on the video, who's gone through an annual cycle with their bees.
Yeah.
So great, good question. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Lynn.
you.
Yeah. Can you just tell me the author of those books you had again, please?
So the lady is Celia Davis, Divis.
Thank you.
All right, but I will put a list with the names of the books and the authors on the slide. Yeah, I took them off the slide set for some reason, but I'll put them back on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock, so we'll call an end. Thank you all very much for taking part, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah,
okay. Thank you, Simon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye.